Okay, great. So then let's just dive in. So welcome everybody. My name is Tomar Levine, and I'm here with my business sister Natalie. And this is the third of our calls, our series of calls called "What is True Abundance?" Today's call is entitled "Can We Succeed If We're Not Motivated by Money?" So to start off, I'll just introduce Natalie and we will dive into this topic. So it's a joy, always a joy to introduce my business sister. We call each other that because we're part of a business family. And Natalie Kent, I think of as a light being who hails from Australia. She's a sacred business coach. Her passion is helping to create a world where people and nature thrive together, where people do their soul work in a fully embodied way, together with others, create their business in alignment with the energies of nature and their soul and spirit in general. And she has created some of the most innovative and original programs and systems that I've ever seen. They just seem to pour through her. She's like an open vessel to the universe, so inspired, so intuitive, and her sparks of brilliance just shed light on everything we do together. And we wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for Natalie. So welcome, Natalie. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it is going to be fun. Thank you for that intro. I love you, Tomar Levine, for your inner beauty and your ability to connect with the higher realms and share those messages with us. And I see you as this divine earth mother who has so much wisdom to bring to this world at this time. And so Tomar works with the Akashic Records to help people find their soul work. And she does intuitive business strategizing to help people know what path to take in bringing their business to life. And she's a beautiful person to work with. And I can't wait to bring this topic to you all today, because it's kind of been a progression over the previous weeks. First week we talked about soul work. Second week we talked about collaboration. And now we're really honing in on money and how it relates to true abundance, to soul work and collaboration, all in the mix. So this topic of not being motivated by money, which will demystify what that means on the call today, but really it's come from a personal journey for me of trying to be something I'm not in business and trying to get into the conventional mainstream ways of making money, which actually went against my natural brain. So today we want to talk about, well, if that is you and how you actually find out if it is you, and then how do you still succeed? Obviously, we still need to make money. We still have to live with money in this world. So we want to get drill down into some specifics around this topic today. And let's kick off, Tomar, with the first question.
First question is, what are the signs of not being motivated by money? By the way, when I'm speaking, you're not seeing me because I'm talking, I'm connecting by phone. But what are the signs that we're not motivated by money? So I'm just going to refer to my own life and my own experience, thinking back into my earlier days. And of course, when we start off in our life, we're in college, or we're thinking about a career, or we're just surrounded by the people in our lives, and we, whether it's how we apply ourselves to our studies or what our goals and visions and ambitions are for our future, this really, for me, was a very problematic time in my life. I really felt like an outsider. I really felt like I didn't fit or belong because I did not have a lot of drive or ambition. And in fact, I really withdrew from the whole concept of, what are you going to do when you grow up, or how are you going to earn a living? Because what I was presented with was not a prospect of being joyful and creative and spiritually enriched. It was a prospect of having to abandon what I love and do something I didn't love and that was hard for me and that I didn't even do very well. That was kind of what was being modeled in those days. And I actually had an inner knowing from a very early time of my childhood that this is not the way the world was supposed to be. So some of the ways that my not being motivated by money manifested was feeling like an outsider, feeling like I didn't belong, feeling like I was inadequate, like I couldn't somehow hack it. I couldn't mobilize my energy to go for what everybody seemed to be telling me to go for. And when years went by and I was an artist, and, that's not known as a very lucrative profession, I managed somehow to patch things together. But when I entered this world of spiritual entrepreneurship on the internet and started to be exposed to all the different teachings and trainings and business teachings, and many, many of them were even couched in spiritual language, but they were all ringing the same bell and singing the same mantra, which was be a six-figure entrepreneur, six-figure coach, six-figure income. Now, then after a year or two, it became seven figures. So all of that, that was really, it was a turnoff for me, but it also made me feel once again inadequate. Am I in the wrong place? Is this something I can't really do? There was actually one of the very first programs that I enrolled in. There was a questionnaire. It was a year-long or 6-month program on how to be a six-figure entrepreneur or coach. One of the questions was, how much money do you want to earn? And I lied. And I said I wanted to earn 6 figures. I was actually afraid they might reject me from the program if I told the truth. So it took many years before I had the courage to speak publicly in that community of online entrepreneurs about what I believed and what I saw. And then, gradually more and more people started also speaking up, because I had just been very intimidated by, not being able to get with the program. So some of the other things about being not motivated by money is that many of us who come from a spiritual orientation, and also are sensitive, and, well, we've grown up in this world where we don't feel a lot of confidence because we are not part of that, A team. So we actually develop very often a whole lot of issues around money. Money feels like it might be the enemy. Many people think money is not spiritual, it's tainted, it's evil, it's dirty, or it's just beyond my reach, or I'm inadequate, or I'm unworthy, or we do carry a lot of baggage. Our culture does. Our culture is steeped in this. So particularly people who are spiritual get caught very often in this undertow where they have a legitimate and authentic vision that is not motivated by being rich, but they also feel like that means there's something wrong with them, or we just don't have what it takes to survive. And a lot of spiritual people really have trouble earning enough money. Partly it's the way the society is structured, and it's the way our psychology also undermines us. So that was something that I've devoted a lot of time to exploring, because we all have to sustain ourselves, and we all have to find whatever the right placement is for us in this world, which includes the financial world and our own business being able to sustain us. And we don't want to be unconsciously sabotaging our efforts. But the whole question of not being motivated by money has really become a very big one in the spiritual entrepreneurial world, to the degree that teachers, mentors, business coaches are now trying to persuade people why they should want more money. Oh, if you got more money, you could, start a school in Africa, appealing to our noble aspirations. It finally dawned on me, they're saying that because a lot of people are really kicking back and saying, no, 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 this isn't what I want. So anyway, I'm excited that this has become more of a public discussion, and people are able to come out of the closet, so to speak, and say, no, I don't want a 6 or 7 figure income. That is not my my motivation. So Natalie, what do you think?
Yes, you really highlighted for me, Tomar, how easy it is to think you are motivated by money, but you're actually not. Because the cultural pull is so strong that we don't know any different. We're not told that there's another option to not be motivated by money. We're told that that's the only option available to us, or become, a social activist or environmental activist and be very poor. So it's like we're given these two options, and neither feels quite right to us. So I had the epiphany only last year, after having spent many years in the corporate world managing budgets and playing with money on that level, and then having to run a business on my own and discover what it actually means to be an entrepreneur, and that you pretty much have to be motivated by money or die, to realizing that, wow, this really doesn't work for me. I'm not turned on by money at all. So in reality, what this looks like is setting financial goals doesn't work for me. So if I go, I want to earn $10,000 this month, that does nothing for me. My energy doesn't align with it whatsoever. And yet that is what we're told in the industries out there around making money, that's what you need to be doing. There's a problem with your mindset if that doesn't work for you, or there's something wrong with you if that doesn't work. And I called myself out on that last year and went, hang on, maybe there's nothing wrong with me and it doesn't work for me either. So what it looked like for me was that when I finally realized, because initially making money worked with a lot of force, excessive force. It was highly stressful. I was anxious all the time, but I did make money. But it wasn't sustainable, because I just eventually went, hang on, I'm so disillusioned about this. This is not how it's supposed to feel. So when I finally realized that I wasn't motivated by money, I went, hang on, this really isn't fun. And it's not necessarily because I have money issues, which is what I'm being told. And I need to find another way. I need to find some way of succeeding in business still, without making money the focus, without making it my driving force. So some of the signs maybe, well, they were for me, is that money doesn't excite you. So setting a financial goal doesn't excite you. And even for me, when money comes into my bank, or I have a big month where I've earned more money than usual, it's a very, very fleeting sense of, oh, cool. But that's it. There's no like, yes, I need to get out there and celebrate. Look at all this money in my account and yay, I did it. It's not like that, because for me, that's not the measure of my success. It is a thank you from the universe, but it is not the measure that I'm looking for. So I say thank you for supporting my life, and I move on. And to contrast this with what a typical entrepreneur mindset would have, is they would be excited by that. That would make them want to earn more money. They get excited by the game of money. It it is fun to them to make more and more money. I just don't have that in me. So some of the other signs, some of the other things you see out there, like, running special deals and discounts and 2-for-1s and joint ventures and all these things that are basically designed to make you money, they don't work. So that's a good sign. They don't work, or you don't feel turned on by them. You don't feel inclined to use them, but you might have tried them because you thought there was nothing else. So I would be really questioning how successful are these approaches for you, and do they feel good? So one of the other signs is actually seeing through a lot of the money gimmicks out there. So being able to just go, hang on, that person's doing that just to make money. That doesn't feel right. So all of these things together, and you might have your own signs. Please comment in the chat if you do. How do you know that you're not motivated by money, perhaps? And maybe you're in the process of discovering or questioning whether you truly are motivated by money. As I said, it took me a while. Priscilla said, also, we are led to believe that we need money to live on this planet. That's a very good point. Yeah, it's part of the brainwashing, that money is the only currency and that's it. We touched on this last call, actually, talking about relationships being the new currency. So there's no money necessarily exchanged in that, which gives rise to the whole collaborative models in business. I don't have anything else to add on that, but if anyone has any comments about how they are or are not motivated by money, please let us know, or any questions you have.
And I just want to add, I want to add something to what you just said, Natalie. It is, or what was just mentioned in the chat, of course we need some money to live in the physical world, but that's not the same thing as being motivated by the lust for money, by the ambition to amass a lot of money and to become important and dominant and powerful and all of that by virtue of the amount of money we make. So there's a big difference between earning to live or living to earn, put it that way.
Yeah, Gillian said here, money is a vehicle to achieve. Absolutely. And Angelica, all of what you have said is true, Nat. Always difficult when anything taught makes you feel inadequate, makes me feel so cross. Yes, I'm definitely not motivated by money. Money in bank does not thrill me or make me feel good. I just need money to do what I want. Absolutely. And I really want to highlight that we're told that if we're not motivated by money or we're not making big money, that we've got money issues. Now, that may or may not be true. We shouldn't just accept that to be true, because that's what we're told, and that we have to work through our money stuff. Usually it's both. There's a bit of money issues in there, but that's not the whole story. That was at least my experience. Gillian, recognizing the effort I put in is reciprocated. Yes, so money is a reward. It's like, wow, it's like a pat on the back. It's a hug. That's what I see it as a hug from the universe. Oh, you did a good job. Here's a reward. But it's not necessarily the carrot at the end of the stick for us. So yeah, it's quite a nuanced difference. Okay, next question. What are we motivated by instead of money, and is that enough? Over to you, Tomar.
Yes, indeed. So, so some of us who are not primarily ambitious for money, we may have been criticized, especially by our fearful parents who want to make sure that we would do well in life, saying, no, you're a dreamer, you're not practical, you're not realistic. Have any of you heard those words? So those things that are indicated by those words, dreamer, idealistic, those are probably what's really motivating us. We're being really motivated by our dream, by our ideals. And we're made to feel as though that makes us wrong or, silly or childish or, crazy. Um, so what we're motivated by, there's I have a way of framing it, which is being called from within and called from without. This is especially noticeable today in the world, that people are feeling this double call. There's a call coming from within our soul that wants to express something or wants to experience something or wants to give something, wants to be part of something. And there's a call from without, from the world, which is so full of need and opportunity to make things better and to be inspired. So that double call doesn't necessarily initially equate to dollar signs. Like some people would say, I feel this desire to really help people, but I have to make a living. So I'm going to put that off, and maybe when I retire, I'll do that. Or maybe if I make a lot of money, I'll be able to quit my job and do that. And then there are the rare people who say, to hell with it, I'm going to do it, and I'll somehow make it work. Whether it's finding funding or creating a not-for-profit or joining with others or just plunging in and seeing what is needed and what can I contribute. So what we're motivated by usually is what we are here to contribute. It's to be of service. It's to live through inspiration, to express our creativity, to align with whatever it is that we actually see as important in the world, or as inspiring, or as uplifting, or what brings us personal joy. And I would also say that all of those are predicated on what your soul is really here to do, who you really are on a soul level. And more people today are actually being guided by that, not being guided by the conventional brainwashing of the culture, into giving up their dream and following something practical or realistic. Um, like I've often thought my generation might have been one of the last who just felt free to, in college, major in the humanities. You know, because of the environment, economically at that time, there wasn't this stress and anxiety so much about earning a living, um, that arose and dominated the world. So all these really bright and creative people went into finance instead, or at different times they might have gone into law. Whatever it was the reigning profession for earning a living. People would say, well, oh, if I could follow my heart, I would do X, Y, Z, but instead I'm smart enough that I could make a lot of money if I do this thing, which turns out isn't in my heart at all. So what we're motivated by is what's in our heart, is who we are and what we've brought here as souls. And particularly at this time in the world, more people, including so many thousands of people who followed that route of, quote, safety and security or greed or whatever it was, so many of those people are also waking up and saying, ugh, this is really horrible. I'm suffering. I'm not happy. And, I was promised happiness, and there must be something better. Is this all there is? So people from all different directions are waking up to wanting to follow our heart, wanting to actually be what our soul is calling us to be. And it's because the world needs us to do that. The world needs people who are awakening. It needs people who are expressing a higher vision, who are embodying it, who are acting on it, who are actually trusting that something is possible that needs to happen. Mostly it's not people who are wanting to go off to a paradise island and just lie on the beach and sip drinks all day. That isn't what I mostly see. what I mostly see is people really wanting to make a contribution to the world and actually being guided by some kind of GPS that we have in our heart that is telling us which way to go. So is that enough? Is it enough? Can we actually survive following our heart? And that these do what you love and the money will follow, or follow your bliss and doors will open. So I would say it may not be as simple as that. We may not, it, it may not be those neat little aphorisms, maybe leaving out some parts that are really important. For me personally, one of the things I'm aware of is that um, you can follow your bliss, you can do what you love, but if you also are burdened with a lot of um, issues that are like unconscious beliefs that, well, I could do this, but I know it's not going to, it's not going to fulfill me spiritually, but I won't make money. If you're carrying a belief that, well, I don't really deserve to make money because I'm, doing what I love. So, I'm already happy, so why should I also have money? If you're carrying any kind of, or maybe a belief that came from being this different kind of person, like, oh, I'm an outsider, I don't really belong in the world, no one's going to want what I have, because that was my experience when I was younger. So whatever unconscious beliefs we're carrying can really undermine our ability to connect with the source of abundance. So, do what you love and become very self-aware and work on yourself and clear up your stuff and take practical action and take um, courageous action, inspired action, and risky action, and go beyond your comfort zone. There are a lot of other things that are, in my book, part of what's required. And if you do those, it will be enough, because first of all, if you are born with a desire or a soul passion, and you're born into this world, and this world has so much need in it, I believe that the rightness of the universe means that you are supposed to be doing that. And if you go about it in a way that is not that in a way that is also embedded in the world itself, where you're not just, let's say, doing paintings in your studio, but you're not showing them to anybody, and you're saying, where's the abundance? I'm doing what I love, but there's no money. Well, there are certain things that have to be done. So there are structures that the world has. It's a lot of other pieces that have to come together. But there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that when we follow what truly motivates us, we will be able to sustain ourselves. We will be rewarded. And it is enough. And the world is not only that, but the world is moving more and more in this direction. And there's also so many more ways of interfacing with other people and with the whole world of money than there were before, with the internet and with all kinds of collective structures that are organized now. So what are you motivated by? So I invite those of you who are on the call live, and also those who are listening to the recording, to really just give some thought, like, what is it that is calling you from within? What is it that's calling you from without? Or what would you say is motivating you?
Good question.
And do you believe it's enough? And do you believe it matters?
Yeah.
So,
yes, I want to hear the different versions of what motivates people. One of my personal motivations is self-mastery or self-actualization. And what I've learned about that so far is that when we release a lot of the society's conditioning and programming of, who we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to operate and succeed, that it becomes more and more about, I just want to use what I have inside me and see an impact, see it create something. You know, that's to me what self-actualization is, making the most of what you've got, essentially. And I also wanted to give an example of this because what I have experienced myself from the point when I acknowledged that I was not motivated by money, my money situation changed quite dramatically. And to give context, before that point, before I realized I wasn't motivated by money, I was operating in the mainstream way of, you know, aiming for 6 figures, doing all my marketing, you know, the way that we're taught to do it, and really being sold that way of doing business. And of course, when I realized I wasn't motivated by money, it all fell away because I just couldn't do it anymore. My heart wasn't in it. It was like a light bulb went off and there was no, you know, I was at the point of no return. And so before that point, I was actually making money in spikes, or, you know, I'd make a lot of money. So, you know, at one point I made $10,000 in 1 month, and, you know, I found that wasn't sustainable for me. I couldn't do it month after month after month. And, but I just kept doing that. So I had these peaks and troughs of income. And after the point where I realized I wasn't motivated by money, not only did it become easier, but I started to create more consistent income, and without having to exert so much effort to make that money. So there was a very deep internal shift that happened that actually supports what Tomar was saying, is that when you actually prioritize and become motivated by that inner sense of service and wanting to use your soul gifts, like really deeply wanting that to be the focus, regardless of all the stuff that we're told, amazing things can happen. It's almost like it's a very deep healing that takes place. It's like a rift inside you starts to bridge and starts to heal. And there's no telling what that can actually create in the outer world. So there's an element of mystery here as well. I mean, of course, there were strategies, different strategies that I employed from that point on, but I certainly was doing no more marketing than I was before. In fact, I was doing far less marketing. So I wasn't following what society was telling me, what the industry was telling me, in other words. I was following the beat of my own drum and what felt good to me about being of service. So that's the key, in my view, is actually finding out what feels good. Am I just doing this because I've been told to do this because it's going to make me successful? And in some cases, it's going to put me in the spotlight and I'll be famous. You know, it's finding out whether intrinsically something feels right for you. So Gillian said, my motivation is for individuals to step into their true selves and be recognized for me. As for me, each time I do it for myself, at each level, I get to see the world from a different perspective. I'd love others to change the world from their point of view. Yeah, that's cool. What an awesome motivation. So this is such a personal thing, you know? So really putting it into words like you have, Gillian, is quite liberating. It's, you know, being able to articulate what does motivate you. So let's move on. We've got lots more to talk about. Once we get to the end of this call, we're going to be talking more about how true abundance actually features in business and how it can support us. So let's talk a little bit more about what is success, and I'm going to talk a little bit about money flow as well and what that actually means. Tomar.
Yeah. So, you know, we were asking the question, can we be successful if we're not motivated by money? And the assumption is that without that drive, I'm wondering if the assumption is without that drive that's perhaps, you know, manufactured or, you know, created by the cultural, you know, conditioning, people would just be so lazy and no one would actually move forward. No, it's like that you have to kind of create this hunger for people to pursue whatever success means. So the question is, well, what are we talking about? What is success? What kind of success are we talking about? So in our culture, being successful, almost by definition, just means having a lot of money or being, recognized at the top of your game in whatever field you're in. So it's being kind of famous for what you do. So, lifestyles of the rich and famous, I guess that's like the pinnacle. But we don't often really challenge that concept of success itself. And, one of the things that I think more and more people are experiencing is the hollowness of what we're taught is success. Jim Carrey has this wonderful quote that goes around a lot, that he wishes for everyone that they would become really rich and really successful, and they would discover that it doesn't bring happiness. So the whole hollowness of, does success mean getting some kind of reward that is recognized by our society, even though the conditions of life in that society are destroying my soul, and the conditions of whatever it is I'm doing, like working 80 hours a week to achieve that income, is also destroying my body. So when I think about success, I really think about, again, it's that being what's calling me. For me, maybe my definition of success is I've actually, continued to explore my highest potentials. I've continued to challenge myself and to bring out more than I thought was possible, than I knew that I had inside me. Being successful for me would mean actually getting out of my fear and stepping into a bigger role of my contribution, actually taking the risk to do something that doesn't feel comfortable for me to do, and starting to actually be part of the very thing that I feel is the most important in our world, which is actually contributing to global change. One of the ways I would look at the definition of success is what I like to use as the it's the deathbed it's a deathbed question. At the end of my life, looking back, what would make me feel satisfied with my life? What would make me feel really contented? So that can mean many things. Of course, one of the things that a lot of people would name in the category of success is relationships and family, and if they have children, what kind of children or grandchildren they had, what kind of network of relatedness, how much love they've been able to, we've been able to both give and receive, how much we've contributed to other people's lives and to the world itself. When we measure success by monetary values, we're actually only looking at our personal self-interest. We're only defining success with a very, very narrow view of what's important to me is me. What's important to me is how much I have for myself or for those few people in my family who I include as an extension of me. A success can also mean that I've achieved, I've written a book, or I've achieved my professional undertaking in a big way. So to me, that kind of success is really a valid criterion. The visions and the goals that I personally have are something that's only emerging in the world recently. People coming together to really transform the structures of society in an evolutionary way, actually having learned how to master so many of my egoic issues and be living in a more surrendered and united way with the spiritual reality that I say is so important to me, but as a human being, it can be really, really hard to live that way. So success, you know, if you look at a 360-degree picture of what's important to you, you have to look at success in all of those sectors, not just money. You know, have I been able to sustain myself? Have I been able to be responsible for my life in a way that was sufficient for me and pleasurable enough for me? I would want to include that in my criteria of success. For some people, it might be really important to include world travel. That isn't important for me. So the different things that are criteria for each person really need to be measured, because at the end of our life, we're not so much going to measure the meaning and purpose and success of our life by how much money we made. So what will we value? What will we care about? So to me, that would be the key to how you define success. What's going to really matter to you when you look back at your life?
Yes.
So,
I love that
I'm going to
question.
turn that over to you.
I love that question. At the end of your life, what is going to make you feel successful, that has meaning for you? At the end of your life, not necessarily now. It's quite a different spin. Angelique has said that what motivates her is helping women to gain self-empowerment. It's her big motivation. Awesome. Priscilla's saying, my key motivation is sovereignty, learning to stand in my own strength, fully appreciating the contribution and natural exchange that provides and supports me, whether it's money, energy, or actions, and teaching others to feel their own self-empowerment. Yes. Cool. I like that definition. Okay. Well, I want to bring into this conversation about success, money flow, and the concept of money flow and what that means, how it's different from making money in the traditional sense. Because that's actually one way that I measure success is through money flow. And that is different from the accumulation or the withholding of money out of fear, which is what most of society, most of our economy is based on. It's about how much can I gain, how much can I have in my bank, in my possession, so that I feel safe. And I like to refer to nature's ecosystems, because that's not how it works in ecosystems. If any one species were to stockpile because they were worried that they might not have enough in the future, the whole ecosystem would start to break down. So there's this sense of equilibrium when it comes to money, and it's about giving and receiving in balance, in harmony, allowing money to flow to you and through you without you trying to control it. So this is reflected in some of the things Tomar was saying is, where isn't the goal of life really just to live in flow with creation and not trying to think that we're in control, that we know best, and trying to force a different outcome? This is about actually acknowledging how nature thrives and using that as a reflection and going, okay, so we have an example right in front of us. Let's flow in that way and see what happens, rather than thinking, well, we can do it better with technology and creating these chemicals and these products, and trying to just assert the ego's control over what is already working. So when it comes to money flow, this is about looking at your bank accounts in a very different light. So your financial statements are actually going to tell you how you are flowing with life. Is there enough money coming in? Is there enough money going out? Am I reserving or saving enough money to support myself now in a reasonable sense and into the future and my dependents? Or am I stockpiling my money and my possessions because I'm worried that it won't flow to me and support me in the future? So there's a very fine line, and it actually requires us to become highly sensitive to that creative flow that moves through life, that supports us, that is shown to us in nature. So I like to say that the goal of life is not happiness. It's not to be happy all the time. It's to live in flow with life. It's to not control life. And this is so different to how our economy operates. So money flow is a very different concept, and it doesn't require force. It requires receptivity and responsibility. So like Tomar said earlier, we have to be responsible and take action and learn what we need to learn and do the hard work, as well as flow and allow ourselves to be supported through our own receptivity, being able to receive. Jillian, catching happiness is poisonous to flow. Chasing happiness is poisonous to flow. Absolutely, chasing happiness. And that's actually a big factor, I think, in terms of the unhealthiness of our money culture, is that people are trying to chase happiness, therefore they're trying to chase money because that will make them feel secure and be able to assure their own happiness. So interesting how money is synonymous with happiness in our society. Yes. So when you look at your financial statements, and I'm just going to say this very briefly, look at it in terms of flow. Just look at it through the lens of, is there equilibrium here? Is there harmony here? Is there a bottleneck? The money coming in and it's choking, or the money going out and it's just bulging? So look at how the flow is happening. Are there any kinks in that river of money flow? And working with your money in this way can have profound effects, as I've experienced myself and my clients have experienced. Okay, any other comments on money flow or success? Angelica, yes, I agree. Yes, and the continual of buying something to make you happy, always having to buy the latest and greatest of the latest thing. Absolutely. Yep. The chasing of the dream. All right. So what is true abundance and how can it support us in business? We have something special to share with you in terms of what we're actually teaching as part of the True Abundance Oasis, which is our learning community that we're creating and opening in April. So, Tomar, would you like to share the first petal of the True Abundance flower?
Yes, we have a flower. We have conceptualized our 5 components, and each one is a petal. I just want to say that I once asked the soul of money to show me what abundance is, and what it showed me was exactly what Natalie just said. It was actually just completely being part of an ecosystem and being in flow and letting the flow move through you and being held and supported by the entire ecosystem that you are an intrinsic part of, not separate from. So that is true abundance. So that's really what we are talking about. And the first petal of our true abundance, our Tao flower, Tao stands for True Abundance Oasis, is soul work, is doing the work that our soul is here to do. That's our very first principle, that what we're in business to do is not something that our ego made up or our mind thought of. It's something that arose out of our soul that has become clarified over time, that is still continually to unfold and be revealed. And that we also arrive at through being able to open to our using our intuitive processes, to our own spirit, to our own soul speaking to us, to the soul of what it is that wants to come through us into the world. So we co-create it. It's not, so again, it's like not about controlling. It's not about figuring it out. It's not about being savvy and looking at what the market needs and then providing that. It's actually being receptive, following what is in our heart, but very sensitively, very closely, allowing it to keep revising and keep revealing itself, and also in great humility, really asking for guidance from a larger intelligence that is both our greater intelligence, but also the actual greater intelligence of that thing which we are here to create. Because we believe that everything has an overlighting intelligence or soul, everything that exists in nature, and everything that is created by
Mm.
humans. Everything has a template, everything has an intention, everything has this intelligence that can be tapped into. So, soul work and co creating our soul work with spirit is the first petal of
Yes.
Tao.
And the second petal is healthy money. So this refers to things like simple sales, not actually trying to sell what you have to offer, not trying to force or push, but at the same time being skilled in having sales conversations or having conversations with people who might benefit from what you have to offer. And things like money flow tools. So as I mentioned before, having certain tools and techniques for looking at your financial statements and modifying your strategy, your money strategy, as well as your inner relationship with money and flow to adjust your financial reality. Tomar likes to call it financial sanity, is what we're really wanting in a financially insane world. And also looking at how the natural cycles can support us in knowing when to do what in business. So the same as farmers use the cycles of the moon and the sun, the zodiac to inform, and the seasons to inform when they plant, when they harvest. We want to be doing that the same way in business so that we're optimizing our energy and our resources. So all of that goes into what healthy money really looks like. That's petal 2.
Yes. Yes, and I also call it the principle of enoughness rather than excess, rather than always seeking more.
Yeah.
Which is what we've been talking about on this whole call. And so the third petal we call natural simplicity. So you may have noticed, if you're looking around at how people do business and how people teach you to do business, that a lot of the structures are incredibly complicated. They're so complicated that you have to hire people just to do the technology part, or there are all these different systems that you have to learn how to interface, and you have to purchase different things. And not only are they complicated in steps, like when you see them mapped out, they just have all of these different parts and pathways, but they're also often involve complicated technologies and that you may or may not be able to master by yourself. And there's also the kind of imperative that's taught is to always scale up, do it bigger, create more, have a bigger impact, create an empire, have a team, have lots of people work. So it's actually, doing business that way is very complicated. It's unnecessarily complicated, and it's exhausting. Now, for some people, that is their destiny. Some people are supposed to have a big empire. Some people are supposed to have a, huge impact, or whatever it is that they're doing. But this is taught to people, no matter who you are, it's taught as the way, or as the most effective way, or as the industry standards, or as the best, what's working now, or what's effective. And basically what we're really wanting to step back from that and say, wait a minute, there are simpler ways of making a living than that. We actually don't have to buy in. We don't have to do all of that. of course, we are, if we're going to have an online business, we're going to have to use technology. Not everybody needs to have an online business. There's some very, very simple ways of doing business locally. There's some very simple ways of doing business just through, your network of acquaintances. There are so many ways of being known, because really we're talking about marketing, and marketing is just letting the right people know that you're doing something that's going to benefit them. It's communication. It's just getting a message out to the people who you really want to help and who are looking for someone like you. It does not have to be complicated.
Mm.
So one of my absolute, demands for whatever whatever I'm going to teach to people who are spiritual entrepreneurs is there are simple business models. There are simple technologies, the bare minimum, and nothing in excess. So natural simplicity is our third petal.
Yeah, nothing in excess. So the fourth petal is joyful collaboration. And this is so cool, because this is something that we want to really infuse into business in an entirely new way, because it's about equality and teamwork without hierarchy, without competition, and it's about co-creation. So how can we establish business models that have a co-creative focus where everyone has their role and knows their role and has a contribution to something greater? So there's lots of different business models out there that are of this nature, that encourage teamwork. And we want to teach those, as well as teamwork strategies, so how you can work well with other people in a most productive fashion, so that you actually get your goals done and you don't get entrenched in lots of minor issues of collaboration, shall we say, where the ego likes to come into play. That you keep focused on the bigger goal and you have strategies in order to work together with different personalities. And we want to create a support network. So actually having, working within a network, a defined network, as I mentioned last week, ecosystems function well because they have a boundary. They don't just go on forever like an endless network like the internet. It has a boundary, and we want to create a space for that so that people can get to know people within their network, get to know them well and what they do well, and encourage referrals, encourage teamwork and exchanges and all sorts of things that can happen when you're in a closed network. So, last petal.
The last petal is we're calling holistic lifestyle. So one of the things that happens so much, whether you're creating your own business or you're working in a corporate job, is that people work crazy hours, and actually often in business you wind up not having any time off because you're really working for yourself. And people get completely burnt out. People put their business success ahead of what would normally be considered an enjoyable life. So we really value a life that really prioritizes time in nature, that prioritizes relationships, that prioritizes health, healing, spiritual connection, all the things that we consider equally important to being in business. This is also part of true abundance. We're looking at true abundance holistically. It's not just about your business, it's about your life. So anything in your business, the way you've set it up, the way you're doing your marketing, that is causing you emotional, psychological, energetic, and physical distress, stress, or breakdown is a no-no. That isn't possible. We eliminate that. So it's one of the criteria of how we would, recommend doing a business has to be measured against how is your life in total. So those are the 5 petals of the true abundance flower. So what we mean by true abundance, it encompasses all of that.
Yes, and that's what it looks like in business. So what we've done is really translated the true abundance concept to giving people practical advice, tools, and a community to create a business that is aligned with nature and the way we were meant to live in community with each other and in flow with life. So that's our very briefly how we are approaching true abundance. And next week we're going to be talking more about the actual offering of the True Abundance Oasis DAO. So we'd love you to join us for that. And that's it for today. We're very happy to have you join us, and we really welcome any questions outside of this call as well. You can find us at trueabundance.org. That is our website. You can contact us there, and you can also sign up to our mailing list where you'll be the first to know about any updates and the release of the DAO offering in April.
Yes, you'll see a bright red button saying sign up.
Yes.
Hard to miss. And we welcome you as part of our growing community. Thank you for being here and letting us share this with you.